It is more than just one group of people that were persecuted in Nazi Germany. And I'm going to take this video to describe to you a number of groups of people who were treated poorly by the Nazis. They're really useful examples for you to know, especially the details of their persecution, to talk about how different groups of people are treated. The first group I'll talk to you about is Roma people. Roma people, I mean by that people who go often by the phrase gypsy travellers. People who do not have one fixed abode. The Nazis saw this group of people as one, non-Aryan, but two, a threat to the stable family life the Nazis put forward. They want people to live at home and have a job and work for the Nazis, and Roma people basically are the ultimate opposite. They do not work standard jobs, they do not have standard homes, and their existence is a threat to the Nazi way of life. So in 1933, they were labelled as social nuisances, essentially saying that they are criminals to be seen on sight. In 1935, marriages between German people and Roma people were banned. And eventually, after 1936, they were being either sent to concentration camps or forcibly removed from Germany. It's a show that whatever group of people who didn't follow the Nazi ideal, they were either removed or treated so poorly that they left themselves. Another group of people was homosexual people. I mean gay or lesbian, someone who is in a same-sex relationship. The Nazis really preached the importance of marriage and children and having children, and same-sex relationships do not produce children. So that was a threat to those initiatives. So homosexual people were treated as deviants. They were eventually persecuted in the way that it's the same way as Roma people, but they were persecuted for a different reason, particularly gay men. See, lesbians for some reason were seen as subservient or passive, mainly because I can imagine they could be forced to have children, but gay men, according to the Nazis, had no worth whatsoever, which meant many gay men were sent to concentration camps by law. Often, many of them dying in the conditions there, poor sanitary conditions, poor treatment, as well as overwork. These killed, I believe, I'm sorry that I'm getting the statistics up right in front of you, that around 5,000 to 8,000 German homosexuals died in the camps before the war even began. On top of this, because they were seen as not useful, there was a push for castration amongst homosexual people in Germany. By that I mean sterilization, being made unable to have children, because it was what the Nazis wanted. They felt that being homosexual could be passed down like a genetic disease. Another group of people, which actually follows a very similar group, is disabled people. As in, I mean people with some sort of physical or mental disability that prevents them from achieving as much as some others can in such a quicker time. They believed, the Nazis at least, believes that most people with disabilities were a social burden. By that, I mean that they are unable to produce as much as the average person, and therefore they are lesser, they are worse. They actually had nicknames, useless eaters for people, let's say, who needed a wheelchair. They couldn't work, so therefore they are just taking up resources. Some people believe these ideas still to this day horrifically. Now, the difference with it today and then is that the Nazis could produce laws against these groups of people. In particular, the law for the prevention of hereditarily diseased offspring. I mentioned this in the women video, is that it made it compulsory for people to be sterilized if they were mentally ill, alcoholic, epileptic, deaf, blind, or had a bodily deformity, which meant 400,000 people were sterilized, made unable to have children, because the Nazis did not want this to dirty the bloodline. That is basically people's lives being irreparably changed. And on top of that, because genetics are the way they are, that does not mean you get rid of genetic mutations. And any baby, at least we know by 1939, any baby that was born in Germany with either physical or mental disabilities was ordered by law to be killed by either lethal injection or starvation. It was known as T4. We are aware that around 5,000 people died, and the oldest being at the age of 17, so older than you, was willingly killed for their just disability, something they could not control. Another group is in my top left of this picture. It's a group called Slavic people. You might not know very much about Slavic people, but it's a group of ancient tribes, people that have lived in Eastern Europe for thousands of years. It is an ethnic group as much as it looks very similar to white people. It is the link between many Balkan and Eastern European countries. And Therefore, they are non-Aryan, and they are a thing that the Nazis saw as a group of people who were lesser. In fact, the Nazis saw Slavic people as those who were to be slaves under German people when Lebensraum had been fully achieved. Germany would expand down into the Balkans and Eastern Europe, and the people who originally lived there, the Slavs, would work for German Aryans. Now, to do that, well, what they did is that the propaganda was big, and any groups that would push up this idea of untermenschen, lesser people, but this idea is really prevalent, that you understand numbers of groups of people were persecuted. And there's another phrase, an undesirable phrase, which is essentially a word for any group of people, even if they're Aryan, that still don't adhere to Nazi values, be it alcoholics, homeless people, prostitutes. Any, should we say, social abnormality that the Nazis didn't want was deemed as something worthy to be a crime. Being yourself could be something to get you treated poorly in Nazi Germany, and that's something that is mind-boggling to most of us in the modern age. If you want to make sure you know this section, I'm just going to list the names of a group of people that you should be able to tell me a little bit about how they were treated badly, maybe even why as well. Can you tell me about Roma people, Slavic people, homosexual people, disabled people, or even undesirable people? If you know the answers and can give me why and how they're persecuted, you're sorted for this section. Good luck, and I'll see you later.